All right, hello once again. Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. We've been talking databases, going over SQL Beginner's Guide, 3rd edition by Opal and Sheldon. I'm in the middle of Chapter 10, and we just talked a little bit about some of the string functions. I wanted to put up here, this is the URL basically of that, but I want to change this. If I type in date, and I'm not sure if that's right or not. If it's not, I'm going to just get an error message. So, page not found. Okay. It might be date, time. It might be all sorts of stuff here. So let's do this. All right. So let's look at date, time functions. And there we have date, time functions. Date and time, well, that's 5, 6. And 5, 5, 7, but those aren't dates. So let's go back to here and let's look. And you'll notice we have quite a few date, time functions. But think about why that's important. All right? We want to be able to take the date and show it in many different formats. For example, some people, and let's put that URL up here also. Some people, when they're dealing with date time, a little big. Some people, when they're dealing with date time, especially date, to some people, today's date would be 3/28/2017. To other people, it'd be 3/28/2017. All right. To some people, it would be 03/28/2017. To some people, it might be 28-03-2017 because they put the day first and not the month first. It depends on the type of the world in which you live and the format that is used. To many people, this is more of a universal format to use the periods. But even with that, some people who use the periods would put 28.03.2017. All right. So in your book then, starting on the bottom of page 236, they start talking about some of these date and time functions. And notice they mention there that SQL implementations vary widely with how they implement dates and times. That's what I just tried to show you. Here are some examples of the ones that you might use fairly often. All right. So this is kind of interesting. Notice select current date and select current time. I'm going to try some of these. All right. And this is going to be the first time. Whenever we've used select, we've always said select field or fields from a table. And sometimes we've had where, something like that. But now we're going to try just some of these. So I'm going to say select current date. Notice what I get. Select current time. All right. Select current time stamp, which you have to spell correctly. And notice I get both, the date and the time. All right, so those are just a couple of the ones that are shown on the bottom here of page 236. And the author mentions on the top of the next page, because the current timestamp date time value is supported by both SQL and Oracle, let's take a closer look at that one. Well, the key thing where current timestamp is used a lot is, for example, let's say that you have some kind of a registration thing where you want to see who registered first. You might have several people who registered on the same date, but they did it at different times of the day. So when you do a current timestamp, it shows you both the date and the time. Here they mention that some different SQL implementations have their own functions for date time. Why is that important? Well, again, if we look at what we had just looked at, all right, what they're saying is not everybody is going to have the same level of support that MySQL does. Some relational database management systems might provide more support, some may provide less. There's actually very few things that you can do with dates. All right, you can add values to a date. So if I wanted to, let's say that every time I send out an order, I want to make sure that the payment date is 60 days from the day the order is sent out. I could add 60 to a date. There's a date diff which allows me to subtract one date from another. But many of the things that are in there, day of month, day of week, etc. I don't know, I've not done a lot of work with this, but let's try this. Select day of month from current date. Incorrect parameter count, so it doesn't like something in there for day of month. All right. Hopefully we'll see a couple more examples that are done better than the one that I just did not do well. In fact, always go to the source. So I can go here to day of month, for example. Select day of month. Oh, okay, so I just put there. So let's try that and see if it'll take that. So let's say select day of month, current date. So it says today's the 28th. All right. All right, let's just jump ahead here. Next, we're going to talk about some value expressions. So we're on 238. A value expression is mentioned here as the type of expression that returns a data value, hence the name. The expression can include column names, values, mathematical operators, keywords, and not just one or the other, but many of them in unison with one another. So numeric values, which are discussed next here in the middle of page 238, are expressions that use mathematic operators to perform calculations on numeric data values. All right, should make sense. The major arithmetic values are shown on the top of page 239. They are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. All right, we've actually seen a little bit of the addition when we used the sum aggregate function earlier on in the program. All right. Now, I don't have probably the greatest examples here in the database that we're using. Well, I don't like it when it goes light like that. But let's see. How about this? Select, I'm not sure if this is even going to work, max salary plus min salary from employees. Again, I don't know if that's even going to work. Oh, it did. All right, so the max plus the min, and it says it's 200,000. Well, let's select star from employees. Now remember, we got 200,000 here. So the max was 125,000, the min was 75,000. So it worked out nice. Let's try some other operations on here. Select max minus min. So that should be 125,000 minus 75. If it works, should get 50,000. And we do. right? Kind of silly, but if we do a times, all right, that is 200 or 125,000 times 75,000. And let's just check with a calculator and make sure that that's correct. So 125,000 times 75,000 equals, all right, 9,375,000,000, and that's exactly what we got. And finally, we should also be able to do a divide. All right, we get 1.66667. And again, if I wanted to, I could come in there and on this particular example, all right, I could run it one more time, but I could say instead of doing this, I'm telling it now to round, not rund, round, and I put the whole expression in here, comma, 2. Now I get it to 2 decimal places. Okay? Now those were not great examples, but it did show you an example of using every one of these. All right? Now I don't know if this one's supported or not, but I'm going to try it anyway. And that is to use the asterisk here, or the % sign. And let's try this. Select 23, 7. All right. The % sign is the modulus or the remainder operator. So if I take 23 and divide it by 7, 27 goes into 23 3 times with a remainder of 2. This was take the max salary, which was 175,000, divided by the min salary, which was 75,000. Now in that case, I got this. This is what we got when we did it at first. I'm not sure why we got that answer, but we did. All right. Next, in our textbook here on page 241, the author starts talking about the case value expression. Now, most programming languages provide a way for you to do some kind of case statement. All right, so most of them provide a way for you to do some kind of a case statement. What it is basically is it's kind of a refinement of using an if statement. And if you say, well, I don't know what that means either, we're going to look at it in just 1 second. All right? So it says here, a case value expression allows you to set up a series of conditions that modify specified values returned by your SQL statement. You can change the way a value is represented or calculate a new value. Each value is modified according to some condition which you specify within the case. The case is a keyword, and it's followed by a list of conditions. So if we look at the example that's right here on the bottom of page 241, the author says here, suppose you want to increase the number of CDs you have on order, but you want to increase the amount only for certain CDs. In addition, you want to base how many CDs you add to the order based on the current amount. Well, that's not at all confusing. They go through a whole long song and dance here about what will happen, okay? That maybe is a little better example, but I don't really like anything that they've done here. And they do mention another handy use of the case value expression is in the set for an update. That's actually, I think the author is making a very good point right there. But I'm going to come in and try to come up with my own example. Again, I'm doing this off the top of my head, so maybe it won't work at all. I don't know. But let's try it anyway. Let's do this. Remember, we had this select star from employees. All right? And we have people who work in departments 1 through 6. So I'm going to try to say this. Update employees, set salary equal case, went a little nuts here with a tabbing, but I hopefully it'll make it easier to read. When department number equal 6, then salary equals salary times 1.1. So everyone who works in networking, which are the two people right here, which are Mr. Corrigan and Mr. Knott, we probably should have given him a salary first, but that's okay. All right. And then we'll say when department number equal 1, and that's me, I believe. All right, that's infotech. Then salary equals salary times 1.05. We get a 5%. And then let's say else, so everybody else, salary equals salary times 1.03, for example. All right, I have no idea if this is going to work. End. And it says 12 were changed. That's kind of neat. Never tried doing that before. So let's go back and select star from employees. Now, if we look on here, we'll start with me. I'm making 100,000, and if I just got a 5% raise, I should be making, I believe, 105,000. Whoa. Well, that didn't work very well, did it? Everyone is now set to 0. Wow, I'd like to know why that happened. But what I'll have to do at the end of this lecture here is to go back and reset those to the ones right here. So I'm going to do a print screen quickly. So I have my original values in here. And then just paste that in. And I'll make that change. All right. And I'll even give Mr. Knott a salary by the time I finish here. All right, let's finish this up, though. That's, like I said, kind of interesting. And we're up to the bottom of page 244 using the cast value option. The cast value option serves a much different purpose than the case. The cast allows you to change a value's data type for a literal value or when retrieving that value from a database. When you cast something, quite often you will cast an integer or a whole number value into a double or a value that can contain a decimal place or vice versa. All right, they don't really have a good example in here, and I can't think of one right now either. Let's see, we'll try this. I've just screwed that up, but this is the only one that made sense to me. Select salary. Int select salary, salary as int from employees. That doesn't like that. Oh, I forgot the word cast. Still doesn't like it. Sometimes when you do these commands, it does not want a blank space there. So select salary, cast, salary as. Well, it still doesn't like what I'm trying to do. There we go. So notice this worked. Select salary and then cast the salary as an integer, and it removed the decimal portion from it. Okay? All right, let's finish this up. We're on the bottom of page 245. The last thing that's in here talks about using some special values. And the author says back in Chapter 6, they discuss special values that SQL supports that allow you to determine the current users. A special value exists for each type of user. The special values can be used in different ways in an SQL database. So they show an example on the top of the next page. Current user, user, session user, current role, and system user. All right. I don't know if any of these would work with what we're doing right now. Okay, but I'm just going to try it for the heck of it. So we'll say select current user. And that is me. I am root at localhost. I don't know. I'm going to just try all of them and see which ones of these work. Select user. Okay, doesn't know what that is. Select, none of the rest of these may work. Session user, doesn't know what that is. Current role, there is none. And finally, system user. All right, it doesn't know what that is. So, kind of a mixed bag. So in this chapter, we attempted to go through some of the built-in functions that exist in MySQL. All right, again, as the author mentioned, this was not a comprehensive look. And if you do want a comprehensive look, you really should go out to, right here, the reference manual, 5.6 or 5.7. It's not really going to matter very much. But if you do go in there to the reference manual, which is right here, so I've shown you here, all right, where to find the date stuff, the date and time. But if you go out to here, let's blow that up just a tad here. All right, because that's the one we're interested in. So if you go out to https://dev.mysql.com/doc/refman/5.7/en/, that is the MySQL reference manual in English, all right, for version 5.7. And that's a great starting point for any of this stuff. So I'm going to come back in just a couple minutes, and in the next chapter, which is chapter 11, and remember, we're only going through the first 12 in this textbook. So in chapter 11, we will be going through accessing multiple tables. So now we will be able to combine information from more than one table. And we'll come back with that using joins, etc. shortly.